about these companies that are changing the world. Now we have our panel. Next, we're going to have this panel, CSR and Sustainable Business Models, a step towards the constitution of the rights of Mother Earth. Our moderator will be the our moderator will be Mr. Greco García from the Benemerita Autonomous University of Puebla. He cooperates in the promotion of the Sustainable Development Goals, and he also supports other organizations so that they fulfill their social responsibility commitments. He implements and promotes the sustainable development among students. And now we're going to invite up here Mr. Greco García.
How are you today? First of all, I'm going to take a little bit of your time. I'd like to thank, and I hope that I wanted to thank Mrs. Gabriela for the invitation, for allowing me to be here in Guatemala. I was 2 months here in a conference, and I'd like to congratulate. I haven't seen internationally a volunteering like the one you have in this occasion. Congratulations to all the volunteers. I'm going to talk to you about a matter before we have the experts to come over. The word being worded on taking action. What is the closeness to those two expressions? At the end of these two words, you have CSR. There are some people that get occupied, and there are others that are worried. Let us be occupied. Today we have problematics very important, like the peace, like the environment. What are we really doing for our Mother Earth? Today we plant, we grow with the water that we contaminate. We're really doing something for the water, for the soil, for the air. Are we doing anything? That's what we're going to be talking about in this panel within the framework of CSR for sustainable business models. So I ask you the favor if you can accompany us in this passing to the front, each one of them. The director, executive director of Fundazúcar, the designer of the program for better families that is executed in Guatemala. Please welcome Maria Silva Pineda. We also receive here in the panel environmental engineer from the Swedish University, Vice President of Soil S.A. E.S.P. with high experience in the treatment of toxic soil originating from industries, Sweden and Colombia. Please welcome Patricia León. She's from Lund University of Sweden. Winner of the award RECLA 2013 International Conference, a guest from Harvard University, Salem and Emerson in the United States, among others, from Colombia, Mr. Gustavo Yepes. We welcome him to the panel. And a business administrator, organizational psychologist, experts in reports of sustainability, corporate and leadership volunteer against climate change. Welcome, he's Alejandro Ruiz. He and I work in an international of the vice president, a colleague of mine. Let's get into the CSR topic, especially for sustainability. There are 4 terms for that, which I recommend you to check on the pyramid of sustainability: the ethics, financial, and the social and environmental theme. Those 4 points make the pyramid of sustainability. Those 4 points not only are related to the fashion of sustainability, but we're going to start by seeing this Inter-American Charter, in the Environmental Inter-American Charter, which proclaims the rights of Mother Earth given to us by the Global Embassy of Activists for Peace. Let's see the video now.
Desde el año 2011 se ha discutido en escenarios internacionales que la Madre Tierra ha entrado en una nueva era geológica, el Antropoceno, provocado por el impacto negativo, masivo y desenfrenado de la humanidad en la naturaleza. Han sido muchos los esfuerzos para frenar la degradación de los sistemas naturales de la Madre Tierra, pero aún falta mayor sensibilización y conciencia para combatir la contaminación. La destrucción masiva de la flora y la fauna, la sobreexplotación de los recursos naturales, el calentamiento global, la industrialización desenfrenada, entre otras acciones de la mal llamada civilización moderna.
The problems that Mother Earth suffers are not responsibility. They are responsibility of every nation. They are the responsibility of
Ante
every
estas
nation.
realidades, la Embajada Mundial de Activistas por la Paz vio la necesidad de contribuir a la construcción de un nuevo paradigma ético-legal que despierte el amor y el accionar positivo de la humanidad por el único hogar que tenemos, la Madre Tierra. Por la paz ambiental de la Madre Tierra. Propuestas de gobernanza y justicia ambiental universal. Es un documento integrador que contiene 5 propuestas ambientales para la protección de la Madre Tierra y que está siendo socializado en diferentes instancias gubernamentales y no gubernamentales, civiles y en especial con los pueblos indígenas. Estas propuestas son la Carta Ambiental Interamericana, un instrumento de principios, valores y acciones ambientales construidos sobre la base de resoluciones, declaraciones, convenios y tratados internacionales y regionales, que sumado a los conocimientos y saberes indígenas, permite fortalecer el sistema interamericano en materia de protección para la Madre Tierra y un medio ambiente sano. La proclama de la Constitución de los Derechos de la Madre Tierra promueve el reconocimiento mundial de la Madre Tierra como un ser vivo y sus derechos inalienables. Es un documento inclusivo, realizado con el aporte de diferentes grupos de la sociedad civil y basado en los principios y valores universales de los seres humanos y en los conocimientos y saberes indígenas. El Convenio Internacional para la Prevención y la Sanción del Delito de Ecocidio promueve la tipificación del ecocidio como el máximo delito ambiental de orden nacional e internacional contra la Madre Tierra y su admisión como quinto delito, competencia de la Corte Penal Internacional. El Convenio para la Protección de la Madre Tierra y creación de la Corte Interamericana para la Defensa de los Derechos de la Madre Tierra propone la creación de una institución judicial interamericana especializada en delitos ambientales, entre ellos el ecocidio, descentralizada y autónoma. Las propuestas de los pueblos indígenas de América para la paz ambiental de la Madre Tierra. Es un documento creado por los pueblos indígenas de América, donde se recogió el conocimiento y saber indígena de la voz de sus ancianos, hombres, mujeres y jóvenes, con el fin de desarrollar propuestas para su prevención, equilibrio ecológico y la paz de sus comunidades. Es momento de tomar real conciencia de la gravedad del daño ambiental de la Madre Tierra. Y esto solo es posible a través de la información, formación y educación en principios y valores fundamentales ambientales y con el establecimiento de sólidas acciones en gobernanza y justicia ambiental para la convivencia y el desarrollo armónico de los seres humanos en armonía con la Madre Tierra.
How important it is that this proclamation exists, that there is a paper, something physical, something that we can, it's already being revised at the Organization of American States, is being revised. and then will be then revised in the UN. It's very important. If we can get to the topic, Fatima, I'd like you to talk about the rights of Mother Earth and how corporate social responsibility connects to this. I'd like you to give us your opinion. I'd like you to share with us how sustainable business connect to this.
Perfect. Well, I would like to thank all of you for this participation, and I truly feel very happy every time that I come to these summits. And I would like to thank Dr. Soto because he confirms the work philosophy that we have in social responsibility and our duty to Mother Nature. We are dedicated to working with clean technologies based on what self-cleansing, the self-cleansing of Mother Earth is, and specifically how we work with toxins and with dangerous toxins and water residues. As many may know, in this subject of soils and toxic residues, we've always been resistant. The community has always been resistant. And in working with the rights of the Mother Earth, in the balance with its self-cleansing, it's very important. It's very easy to start work in corporate social responsibility, which is what we did at first. We have a center where we help with the sustainability of businesses, which means that all of the dangerous and toxic sewage that companies have are treated. And they're not only treated, but as we've talked about in this subject of returning to the Mother Earth its products, we get everything from Mother Earth, from Mother Nature, correct? Water, oxygen. Our doctor here said that it's just misplaced. Our work in the contamination of all of this is artificial, but with the power that the nature itself has to cleanse itself, and this brings us closer to communities. Brings us closer to we began this work with, let's say, internally. Within our company, which is quality of life, first of all, that our people have a good quality of life. Many times the concept of I don't have money, so I have to live among sewage and garbage and water residue. And in countries like ours, it's very easy to have a beautiful, open life in the field with production. And we started with this in the company. And in the same way, we conveyed this to communities. And that is how we got to the places where we reached and tried to help the community fall in love with natural systems. I think that's the only way we can make them feel that they can participate in it. It has been a difficult work. But when I see that there are so many participants who are working in the same direction, I feel very happy, because there are moments where we fail and we think we fall and we think we're crazy. We're in a system where it just doesn't work, right? But with all of you, I see that it is possible, that we can do it, that we can move forward and create a global environmental awareness on our Mother Earth, that we receive absolutely everything from her. Thank you very much, Pati. This is the perspective of someone who works daily in the subject of all the residues of companies. Sylvia, if you can tell us a little bit about your perspective on this subject and CSR, please? Oh, yes, please, if you can. Thank you very much. We're very thankful for the invitation. It's an honor to be here this afternoon, especially meditating on the fact that we're thinking about a summit for peace and that we're visualizing this focus from the home professionally and personally. I am a complete believer in that the cell of, or the unity of the family is at the center of society, and they are the ones we should go back to as that basis of ethics, where we start to do things based on example, and that's how we grow with those habits and ethics that will allow us to be responsible. Greco, at first I would like to speak about what we mean by CSR. From the moment that we first show it, we're talking about companies, and that companies do not exist if they don't have people who make actions. So take action. So we're going to talk about companies that people who have the capacity to fulfill the law and to do actions based on ethics, because at the end of the day, that CSR allows people to build a reputation, and it becomes a basis for sustainability. So I would like to have as an example, if someone wants to go to a party and wants to be sustainable, he'll have to be careful in terms of drinking. No, it's the same in a company. If I'm going to be if I want to be sustainable, I have to be careful about my behavior, because the publicity is going to be based on my clients and based on my providers. This started in 1998, and now we are very satisfied, and we have the great responsibility and commitment of having one of those people who created Entrarse. So now I'm very happy to speak about this. At that time, we were speaking about two things in the company: the internal field, and it's not only what I'm going to have in my company, especially in places like Latin America, where it absorbs the economy the most, but speaking about companies that are legally founded and that know how to fulfill their commitments. And we see that as a capacity of being able to develop and grow within the company, to expand, to develop, and thus they must have dignified work conditions. Because to speak about dignified work in a work environment means not paying just the minimum salary and being aware of their surroundings. It used to be something minimum. And then we go to the exterior field. So in this case, we talk about how this is conveyed to families, to communities, and the participation of the execution of state policies. Because at the end of the day, we're immersed in a state, in a political state, and also in free market. And therefore, we have to have a business citizenship in each of these areas. And this is, excuse me a second, I don't know if I can go back. So at the end, what we see is, how did we sell to the azucarero sector corporate social responsibility? How did we sell this to them? It wasn't schools, it wasn't giving away computers. If we could do that, that would be great. If we could participate that way, then we had to do it within the policies of the state to strengthen the institutionalization of the state so that states could function in each of the rural communities in which we work now. So we propose the idea that CSR, which is the capability of businesses to respond to society and how they produce what the market is giving, how they produce it, and in which conditions they're producing it. So this is not just about having the legitimacy of saying, I'm complying with the law and I'm complying with the ethics, but if you're not, to be responsible for what you're not doing. With this clarity, we also had to think about what we are doing in terms of business, and this was in 1998, and we had to clearly express that the business had to visualize itself as a business in which capital is moving. So that gives me, for it to give me blue numbers and not red numbers. So we have 4 capitals. The first is sustainable agriculture and the management of waste and rationally using resources. And these become mandatory issues. They must be fulfilled by all of us who work in the industry. And there's training for that. There's a normative model. There's a model of norms which tell us what we have to do. Then we go to the production of capital. To create human capital, we had to speak about access to basic human services in rural and urban settings. So not just about capitalization and globalizing economies, but we had to think that and acknowledge that in Guatemala, just because basic resources are rural doesn't mean that they're not there. We had to work with the government. Third is the social capital, which has to do with the ability to establish trust and security in the social field and speak about alliances within the private sector. So I would like to repeat, not as a philanthropy nor as charity, but actually getting our people out there to understand the cultural implications and to say this is Mother Earth in the context where we are. The fourth is human capital, which is the ability to create knowledge, not to continue being the individual that, oh, I'm going to hire this person who can't read and that's going to be cheaper for me, but to be able to transform their knowledge. And above all, humanist research and development. Why is that strategic? Because now society demands that, and it becomes a value that generates productivity. I can measure it. Loyalty of customers. It attracts talents. It is governable and has to do with the image and reputation, access to markets, and thus it has a comparable advantage. All of this implies in the end that it allows me to have sustainability. This doesn't have a before and after order, but it simply becomes a business culture. We're in a changing world. The human being has always been in a changing world. And now more than anything, more than any other time, we are generating a lot of waste. I would like to know how much food today that we've wasted from our plates and how we will transform that waste. What we would like to see, what we can see is that the world is demanding a lot from us, and that the social media can destroy our reputation in a second if we make a mistake. We are in the era of connections. We're in the era of everything hanging on a string in terms of one tweet, one moment that someone says something, and all of a sudden we're on Instagram. So, what do we see as a great challenge? And perhaps that's something that we've taken up as a challenge in our company, is that a changing world makes us have to transcend and to, excuse me, in the end, this leaves us with a challenge. What is the what kind of a generation are we going to put Mother Earth in? That child, that individual who's growing today, who is now a teenager, that millennial, that Generation Z young man, young woman, he needs to be able to comply with the law, to know the law, to value the human person, and to do the right thing. In the end, the reflection we have all the time in El Azúcar is that if each one of us thought of being an ethical man or woman and actually tried to do it, we would have done a lot, because in the end, the sum of the behavior in a company depends on its individuals. Thank you. Thank you very much, Maria Silvia. She works with the subject of organics, but there's also advising how and when, how can we take these sustainable actions from experts. If Alexander can speak to us a bit about this subject and corporate social responsibility, please.
Well, good afternoon. I thank for this space. I would just like to contribute a little bit. I am from the corporate, and the corporate, come from the foundation and allied for the Center for the Philanthropy. We've been working on corporate social responsibility for over 19 years. It's an honor for me to be here sharing these experiences so that we can contribute and to share what is it that we are doing, and to see how we can connect with alliances and networking that we can make in this place. I make some notes because the time is brief and it's the only resource that is not renewable. So I'd like to start from identifying what the companies are created for. What is the aim? That is to satisfy a necessity through granting goods and services. Therefore, the responsibility has the philanthropical sense of being ethically sustainable. So we have to be congruent on how I am generating the incomes in a sustainable way. And understanding this concept, I'd like to ask you to please raise up your hands. I'm going to ask three types of side ice cream: vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate. Which one do you like the best? Please raise up your hands. Strawberry, who likes that the most? Vanilla, the chocolate one. I made a study of those people who raised up their hands for strawberry are the ones that like the environmental topic the most. Those who raised up their hands for the chocolate one, they're more interested in the social theme. And those who raised up their hands for the vanilla ice cream, they're more interested in the economic theme. They are the most interested ones. The factor of sustainability, what it tells us, is that we have to think in a Napolitan ice cream. A Napolitan ice cream, because the resources, the economical factor of the vanilla ice cream helps us to think about sustainability. We need resources to pay good salaries, to take more services and products to more communities, that helps us to assist the environmental needs and to mitigate the environmental impacts. But we cannot leave aside the social part and the environmental part to this. From now on, I hope that we all can think before making our decisions, thinking in a Napolitan ice cream. And it is there in which the circular economy, which has been one of the greatest challenges that we have had, because in this linear economy that we have, that we call capitalism, those of us that are lovers of the environment, they have been called crazies and trick huggers and that sort of things. For that reason, we have had to start speaking the same language that the entrepreneur speaks. Speaking about a environmental economy, speaking about a bachelor degree of the administration of natural resources, environmental laws, and we have to start adapting to this same ecosystem. That's why within this equation, we're trying to get the environmental services involved by designating them in a value. What's the real value that these resources have, so that we can protect them and to start to be competitive from an economical perspective that is being outlined to us by the world. However, for that we have to work and be aware on the way how we are applying those actions, which we call is awaking the dreamer. Like in the example that was said in the morning about the coffee. When we drink the coffee, I wonder, do we do it aware, conscious that it is an organic coffee, a coffee that is free from child labor, that there was no deforestation, that a fair price was paid for that coffee, and that implies changing a vision of sensitization and being more congruent on the way how we take those actions. From the part on our side of this promotion, the first thing we do is to approve this concept. If nowadays we speak about the tools that there are, we heard the ISO 26000, we heard the principles, the Global Compact, we heard the action lines that promotes sustainability, the accesses, the areas of CSR of companies, social responsibility, but they all work under the vision of the common good. And it's there where we have found in the ODSs, in the number one, and it's not that it's the less responsible one, but it is the one that intervenes in the other 16. And for that, we have started to impulse initiatives and strategies with a vision of alliance, which at the end I'd like to present that we have been able to contribute, and we would like to formalize now the alliance with the Global Embassy of Activists for Peace to involve the Inter-American Chart in the proclamation of the Constitution of the Rights of Mother Earth, involving our alliance, connecting this to the alliance. We speak about the critique. Sometimes we say things are wrong, but what do we propose to make those things be positive? But lastly, what do we commit ourselves to so that those things can work on the long term? Thanks for your attention. Thank you very much, Alejandro.
That leaves us a lot of think and meditate the aspect that you tell us about the water, something that leave us with a bittersweet, well, someone who is expert in objectives, sustainable objectives, and he has an initiative, big scale of colleges is you. And then you can tell us a little bit of what is the subject. Just tell us, how do you work with the global impact with these sustainable businesses? Well, thank you very much. I want to thank you for this invitation to share with all of you this afternoon in a way of working in the University of Colombia. I've been the global impact of in front of United Nations. This initiative has been has 11 years, and in front of United Nations has the fundamental goal. Well, if we review the history, when it ends, who generated more problems in the world is not the poor people, and those who had not the opportunity to school to go to big universities. It has been precisely these people who had those opportunities who set us in problems. And the academy has big responsibilities, and not only the entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs have gone to colleges, many business schools, but also they have gone to medicine schools or law schools. And as a union of colleges of all the world, more than 98 countries, what we're looking for is how the academy and its processes can train the leaders in that process. We have 6 basic principles. The first principle has to do with the purpose of the university has to have. Well, then the values that is going to promote, the methods that is going to promote to teach them, the process of investigation, the dialogue and participation with another actors, and of course the alliances to work in a jointly area. And also we have added more purposes in the administrative field, just like any other company has to control their impacts, their environmental impacts, transparency, and communications. In that sense, we have reached, we can say, like 700 colleges in Latin America. We are 108 universities that are compromised with these objects, and how can we, with these principles, we can reach to have new students that they fulfill with the new logic in their future. They take new decisions, new ones as the regular ones, and then can generate changes in the intern processes. And then the projection, social projects start with the working with the actors that at this time there it has a negative impact, and we can reach the sustainable development and also those 17 objectives of sustainable development and fulfill that agenda. Thank you.